Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Dr. Scott. Just seeing a comment there. Hey, welcome everybody. We're talking about policies and procedures today. Definitely the sexiest topic in all of launch prep here. Not really, but it has to be talked about. It's something that's very, very important. So we've got to deal with it. Very good part of launch prep. So again, if you're just joining us, if you're new to the show, launch prep. We've been going through this for, this is week, what, 7? Yeah, Launch Prep episode 7. It's right below me there. It's right there. Launch Prep episode 7. So for the last 7 weeks, we've been going through all the things that you need to work on in your practice this time of year, holiday season, when people are thinking about other things other than you. I like to sit back and just focus on the patients in the office, do some internal promotion, not a whole bunch of external promotion because there's too much noise out there, and really focus on your internal workings, not just internal promotion with patients, but also how your office is running. And if you can fix some of those systems during this time of year, you're going to get great benefit come January through May, which is a natural growth time of chiropractic practice. So that's what Launch Prep is all about. This one here, Launch Prep number 7, is about your policies and procedures. Really your compliance manual and employer manual, and taking some time to put those together. We'll go through it here in just a second. But before we do that, let's get into the question of the week, which is what are you looking forward to most this December? I think most of you probably just go with that Christmas thing. But for December, what's most important to you? For me, I should say most important because Christmas might be it. But what are you most looking forward to? I did see that Dr. Yinka there said spending time with family, finishing strong with the practice, and I love that. You know, a lot of people hear me talk about launch prep and think that I'm like, yeah, just take November and December off. And that's not it at all. There's still time to grow a practice. There's still time to really focus in here. Several of my clients in weeks 1, 2, and 3, when we were doing the goal setting, I saw incredible growth. And that was right before Thanksgiving. Really just by that focus. In fact, I had a talk yesterday with a client. Oh, it was an associate about that. That's a big part of practice is focus. As we get so distracted, and I think part of launch prep and why people still grow during a launch prep is because they're focused on this growth. They're focused on their systems. And they're looking internally. It creates some great energy and leads to great growth. So, anyways, little tangent again. So, taking time off to restore, get ready, plan, set goals for 2020. Great thing to look forward to December. Mine's a little off. It's just my daughter has a lot of basketball tournaments, so I'm very excited to attend them. I coach them also. I'm very excited to see her grow, the team grow, getting ready for the real competitive season that comes up in January, February. So I'm looking to spend some time on the hard court with my daughter. That's my December. I've always said that my favorite holiday is Thanksgiving, so it's over. So basically the year's over for me. I'm just kidding. I really look forward to Christmas. I really look forward to, got some fun stuff planned for the kids here. It's all hidden down here. And New Year's is always a fun one for me as well. So that's the question of the week. If you're just joining me, make sure you answer that question in the comments down below. I got a new setup here, as you may have noticed, just a different question angle. Of the week. If you're just... And that light is from the monitor, so still not the best lighting in here, but we'll make it all work. Anyways, let's talk about these compliance office manuals, employee manuals. For me, this policies and procedures concept, the policies and procedures segment of launch prep is really your defense. We've talked a lot about things that I would consider offense, things that are helping you to grow, helping you to produce. And obviously that's very, very important to me, is that you have that production. At the same time, I want to make sure that you're playing defense as well. Back to that basketball that I was just talking about, something we're looking for. We harp all the time with the girls on defense, making sure that we play defense. Defense wins championships, right? Defense is also very important in your practice. So all that we talk about with capacity and new patient procedures and marketing is offensive. We're trying to grow a practice. This defensive one is very, very important. I've seen many practices have problems in this area where they were in growth mode and maybe they lost an employee and that employee causes some problems for them, or they have a compliance issue, a board complaint, something of that nature, and that distracts them and it really stops your growth. So if you have these two manuals in place, you're a little bit more protected. can never fully protect yourself, but you want to be as protected as you could possibly be. These manuals will protect you and your business if they're set up properly, and make things a lot easier if you do have to go through something like that. None of us want to. We all hope that when we hire an employee that they're the best employee ever and they stay with us forever. When we get married, we all think it's going to last forever, but unfortunately many of those end in divorce as well. Your employee situations could end in divorce too. So policy procedures just very important. Again, it is your defense. And something that you need to look at as a good strategy to go along with the offensive stuff that we've been working on the previous weeks and that we're going to work on for the next 3 weeks. So first, let's talk about your compliance manual. Compliance manual is important for every doctor out there. I think it's even more important for solo doctors, single staff. If it's just you and a staff member, very important for your smaller number of employees. This compliance manual is super important, probably more important than the employee manual at that level. Simply because so many things can go wrong there. We should still be self-auditing. And I think many of the solo doctors that I talk to are not and need to get into it. So the compliance manual is just going to protect you, obviously, if something does come up. So now we're talking about board complaint, insurance audit, something of that nature. If you have your compliance manual in place and you're showing the things that you're doing to stay compliant, even though you are a solo practice and maybe aren't able to keep up with some of the bigger practices as far as their compliance, having a compliance officer on staff, it's just you or a staff member reviewing these things, it doesn't take much. It takes you auditing a few files per month. Once a month, sitting down with 3, 4, 10 files, looking over there, making sure that everything's in place. And if it's not, fixing it. And if you're showing that effort and something comes up in a board complaint, again, you're not necessarily bulletproof, but you have some defense against it. You can show that you've been making an effort. You show you're trying to be compliant. If you missed something along the way, but again, you're showing you're making an effort, there is some understanding there. If you're just not doing anything, if you just don't care, you're not going to compliance seminars, that's going to come down hard on you. And again, having seen so many practices I've seen and having people going through complaints like that, I've seen a lot. This compliance manual can really protect you in those situations. It's not to say that big practices don't need a compliance manual. They do, but I feel like most of them have them. One thing I would say is, again, this isn't the sexiest topic, but you really can't get big unless you have compliance manuals, employee manuals in place. They don't seem fun. They don't seem like something that helps you with growth. But again, they're such a good defense that they allow you to grow, and you won't get there. So the reason I say it's so important for solo doctors, because I know most of the bigger ones have done it at some point. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. They would have to deal with so much compliance and employee questions that they wouldn't get to that level. So get your compliance manual in place. Now listen, your task in this launch prep number 7 is to spend the next few weeks looking this stuff over. By no means do I want you to sit down for a whole day and completely write out an compliance manual. You probably can't do it in a day, but hopefully you have one. And my thing would just be to review it. Really, best way to do this would be 10 to 15 minutes a day. Find a time, sit down, 10 to 15 minutes a day, and review what you have so far and make some small changes or make notes of changes that you need to make. My goal for you would be that by January 1st, you have all this stuff in place. You're sleeping a little better at night because you know your defense is there. And your employees are aware of everything that's going on and the efforts you're making to be compliant, but also the employee manual, which we'll get to next. So again, take a little time, 10 to 15 minutes a day, sit down with your compliance manual, set up a compliance plan for 2020. So that, again, if some sort of complaint, you sit there and like, oh, what's someone complain about? It doesn't matter. What's the saying? The chiropractors eat their young. Like, people get turned in for the funniest stuff by other chiropractors in town, and really no merit to it, but you still have to go through the process. And the process itself sucks, to be quite honest with you. So whether it's a board complaint or insurance something or something that another chiropractor in town, said you did, and it causes a problem for you, or again, an employee, we'll get to manual here next, files for unemployment and you got to deal with it. It's just a distraction, and we want to make sure that we have these things in place so it's less of a distraction and you can still focus on your growth. So that's employee compliance manual. Moving on to employee manual. two sections here. One would be your agreements, and very important to get these agreements in place, and number two, signed. Too many of the doctors out there have agreements, especially when it comes to an associate. They have this agreement. Maybe they both read it, but it's not a signed agreement. And it's not going to do you any good along the way. So go through all the agreements that you should have in place. One thing that I'm always a big fan of is an arbitration agreement with employees and associates. Basically saying that if something does go wrong, you don't sue me. We go to arbitration and we work the stuff out. It saves a lot of issue. And if everybody has signed an arbitration agreement, it really, I've seen it save a lot of problems. I've seen some of the bigger offices, the multiple office setups, that the arbitration agreement, again, just sets up little things. You go sit down with an arbitrator, you deal with the stuff. At the end of the day, it's over with. We don't have to go through a bunch of court and those things when there is a disagreement. And again, what's there disagreement on? It could be anything. Just like most divorces, you go into that, you got married because you loved each other, then you're tearing each other apart in court. Same thing happens here with employees. So protect yourself, get those agreements in place. I don't want to say especially with associates, but associates is where it happens quite a bit. So make sure your associates have very, very clear agreements as to what's expected from them, what's expected from you. Same thing with your employees. And make sure that any agreements that you want as far as their salary, benefits, and arbitration are signed as well. Second part of an employee manual, it really is their responsibilities and tasks. And by no means would I say it's more important, because again, it's good defense, but these responsibilities and tasks are super important. And I really want to make sure for every position in your office. Now, in my offices, we had different employee manual sections for each position in the office so that they knew what their tasks and responsibilities were. So again, whether you're a solo doctor with just one staff member who's probably doing everything, and this is very important for them to make sure that they know all the jobs that they're responsible for and what they should be getting done each day, because again, a lot of things will slip through the cracks in that situation. Or you end up having 7 offices and 72 employees like I did, and you have different positions that are somewhat flexible. There's certain people that fit in a position but don't necessarily aren't very good at certain tasks, so we might hand that to someone else, and we can move those things. But you got to make sure that whoever you have on there knows what their responsibilities and tasks are. I like them in a checklist format. And I think the compliance manual is super important, again, especially depending on what level you're at. But if you don't have a good employee manual or you don't have good checklists in place for responsibilities and tasks, that's where I would spend a lot of time these next few weeks, is working out something, a working document that can always be added to. It doesn't have to be perfect in order for you to implement it, but something that you have your staff fill out on a daily or weekly basis. Little tip for me, I used to have my staff in my main office where I was practicing outside of managing the other clinics. But in the office that I was practicing in, they would have to hand in those responsibilities, those task checklists to me every day. And they would set it on my desk. I would come in, I would know that they were there, and I would never once look at them. They would come in the next day, take them off my desk, and go fill out them for the next day. So the point there for me was that they assumed that I was looking at them, and I think that alone held them accountable. Now, if I had to have a sit-down meeting with one of my staff members and there was a certain thing that I wanted to keep an eye on, obviously I would comb through it and make sure that that was getting done. Another tip when it comes to these checklists that I highly recommend is that they initial all the things that they did. Even if it's just like vacuum the floor, turn on the stereo, like those things, they should be initialing the tasks that they check off. And my rule was, if you didn't do it, that's cool. Like, I understand things get missed, just don't initial it. But if you didn't do it and you initialed it, that's lying to me, and that's a fireable offense. So be very clear about the fact that you got 30 tasks in a day. And if you can only get to 20, 25 of them, I'm okay with that. Pick your priorities, but don't tell me you did it if you didn't do it. So 2 things there. Use that one. Make sure that they're very clear about initialing those every day, and that they get them done. It just helps to keep your staff focused. Helps for them to manage their time, knowing that they have to get all these things done. Maybe they'll spend less time on Facebook during your office hours when you're paying them to be there. That should be an employee manual too. So make sure that happens. So get those checklists signed up. If you need any help with those things, obviously reach out to me. If you're not in the High Performance Chiro group, and I don't think we have a link on here, but if you're not in the High Performance Chiro group, get in there. We did a live last Tuesday. Let me see here. No, we don't have that link in there. We did a live last Tuesday inside the High Performance Gyro group where I was able to answer some questions, people. So if you have questions about this stuff, that'd be the best place to ask them. Go over, join the High Performance Gyro group. I'm going to go live next Tuesday again, answer any questions you have about compliance manuals or employee manuals. And we were able to get very, very personal with a couple questions about significant or specific offices. And I'd be happy to do that for you as well. So go over to High Performance Gyro. Just type in High Performance Gyro. It should pop up as far as a group is concerned. And check that out, because again, we'll be going live next Tuesday, getting more information on these two things. Last but not least today, coaching program is open. I say it's open, but we really haven't finished up the sales page yet. Sales page. Been some stuff going on around here. Some of you might know what's going on and why we've changed venues. But the coaching group is open. I've had a few people reach out to me and we've just had some private conversations. Really the best way to find out more about my coaching group would be to get on a call with me. I do have a call schedule. I'll put it in the comments here after I'm done. That will allow you to talk to me right after the show. I do it 7:20 and 7:30 on most mornings. Anyway, so if you have more information or you'd like to do some coaching with me, I'll give you a little information right now. Basically, I kind of do a hybrid coaching program. And I say hybrid in the fact that some coaching programs are obviously just follow the courses and some are more one-on-one. Mine's a little bit of a hybrid, a little bit of both. You can pick or choose where you want to end up there. But we're basically going to take everybody through all of the courses in my system for the next 6 months. So perfect case acceptance, referral mastery, team development, and then associate development, along with my motivation and productivity courses and all that. So you get access to all of those in this coaching program. You get, on the one side, if you're just doing the group coaching, you still get one call per month where we talk about your specific capacity issues, because those are things I have not been able to put into a course because they're so specific to a practice. But we work out your capacity issues, give you homework for the next month and move on. Or you can upgrade to more of a one-on-one coaching program where I talk to you every week. Completely up to you. No long-term contracts. Been getting great results with my clients this way. So, see John and Tyler stop by. Thanks for stopping in there, guys. So, coaching program is open right now. The best way, like I said, I'm going to put a link in the comments as soon as I end the show, where you can schedule some time to talk to me and kind of see if the coaching is right for you. Hopefully by next week we'll have the actual sales page where you can go and kind of read up more on it done, and we can go from there. So, compliance manual, employee manual. Spend 10 or 15 minutes every day for the next couple weeks just looking over it, maybe even just making notes of things you should do, because an attorney should be looking at this stuff as well. So maybe it's just stuff you send off to your attorney and say, here's the things I noticed, save yourself some money, and make sure that those things are in place. I hope you all have a fantastic week. Like I said, join the High Performance Gyro group, and we can talk more next Tuesday. Otherwise, we'll see you next Thursday, where we're going to be talking about new patient procedures. So we're getting more into an offensive here. Going to be talking about conversion and retention and some really cool stuff. So stop by next Thursday, 7 a.m. Central Daylight Time. I'll see you all then.